Hey everyone, it's me, Gretchen Rubin. I am co-host of the Happier with Gretchen Rubin podcast, and in a moment I will be joined by my sister, Elizabeth Kraft. So let us know, where are you watching from? That's always fun to see. Also, this week on the podcast, we talked about Empower Hour, which is the idea that you set aside time in your schedule and on your calendar every week to do something to put your values out into the world. Right now, there's so much reflection and action taking place in response to the murders of George Floyd, Ahmad, Brianna Taylor, and so many other incidences. I think a lot of people are thinking about how to put their values into the world and how to take action. And we can all learn from each other. So what are you thinking about doing with your Power Hour? Okay, but let me see if I can get Elizabeth Kraft here. There she is. We've been having tech issues, so let's hope that she can join and let us know what you're doing for Empower Hour. Hey, there's Elizabeth.
Hi, how are you? Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. So I was just asking people what they're doing with their Empower Hour, because I think we'll get a lot of good ideas from people. Someone says, I'm asking friends to do a weekly Zoom Empower half hour. That's great. Oh, we've got somebody from Turkey, Washington State, Catskills. Oh, and one other thing that we talked about this week on the podcast was, so I have Spotlight on Black Author, and also we have the book club coming up June 22nd. So yes, it's Broken Places and Outer Spaces, and as we've said, it's short. So if you need a book that you can tackle, but it's really it's like full of ideas. So it doesn't feel. I was really surprised actually how short it was, because it doesn't feel that short, but it is.
Yes, it's a very complete story.
Yes, yes. Ooh, someone says voting by mail. Plan to do stuff about Black Lives Matter, environmental issues, and voting by mail. Oh, that's great. Yes, we just filled that out here in New York City. We just got our vote by mail. Someone says, I have not started that book yet. It's next. Okay, well, June 22nd is when we're going to talk about it here on Instagram Live. Oh, and this is Friday, so this is Ask Us Anything. So ask us anything as well. Any questions?
And Gretch, someone was asking, how often are we doing Insta Live now? In general, it's twice a week. You're going to interview someone on most Tuesdays, and then Fridays we have together Ask Us Anything.
But I had tech issues, whenever that was. So
someone in Dubai.
Oh, wow. Gosh. See, it's great when it works. When it works, it's like magic. And then when it doesn't work, it's very frustrating. Elizabeth, so it's Friday, and do you have any interesting things going on for the weekend?
No, we're still hunkered down here, Gretchen. I have my hair, it's just gotten to a point where it's really hard to make it look good. It's been so long since I've got it cut. So it's back. And I'm kind of staying hunkered down, just going to read. I'm reading, speaking of all of us educating ourselves, I'm reading, Between the World and Me.
Oh, you must have gotten one of the last copies, because these books have been flying off the shelves. There's been so much coverage of how the top 10 print books and the top 10 audiobooks have all been kind of in the anti-racist.
It actually was sold out. So I'm listening to it. That's the nice thing, is you can listen, that never sells out. Kindle and audio never sells out.
Well, that's a great point. And someone says supporting Black children's authors and amplify their books. This is one of the things that I love. There are so many great children's authors. I just read another book by Jason Reynolds. Of course, he is a superstar, megastar. He's written a lot of books, but I just read Look Both Ways, which I highly recommend. It's got a really cool format where it's about a neighborhood around a school, and each of the 10 chapters is a different child walking home. Kind of what happens. So that's good. And somebody I've been wanting to bring back from the past, because I feel like people don't recognize how great and sort of strange and powerful she is Virginia Hamilton. Give me a thumbs up if you've read MC Higgins the Great. because I'm like, why are people talking about Virginia Hamilton all the time? Because I love Hamilton. So that's a great idea. And if anybody has any suggestions for any reading, put it in the comments, because people have been giving me so many great suggestions.
Yeah.
It's sort of terrifying.
Yeah.
But I'm eager to dig in.
Well, did you mention, Gretchen, you were, you had said on the podcast and Design Your Summer that you were going to have the Summer of Virginia Woolf, but you decided that to pivot on that.
Yeah, just to open up more reading time, because I love Virginia Woolf, but she does take a lot of time. And I was just feeling like I just wasn't in that space. Like I really wanted to dive into policy books and fiction and memoirs and essays and all that, that are much more related to what we're thinking about and talking about right now. And everybody's talking about all these books, so then you just get excited to read them. So that's. So
you'll have the fall or winter of Virginia Woolf.
Yes, I think yes. Someone said I had to wait 10 days for a copy of a James Baldwin book. Well, I know, because I have The Fire Next Time, because like I just had it on my shelf and I got it off, but somebody was telling me it's like back ordered for months or something, because that's one. Oh, someone says our public library has started curbside pickup. Oh yes, how many people? My library hasn't done that yet. How many people have curbside pickup for their library? Give us a thumbs up if you're able to do that. I'm dying for that. I'm dying to return my books.
By the way, someone says they're having the Summer of Gretchen Rubin. That's nice.
Oh. Well, I hope that's fun. Excellent. Someone says no, their library hasn't opened.
By the way, I was just in a Zoom meeting with someone who said, "Oh my gosh, I didn't know that you were on the Happier podcast." She had listened. She'd read your book when it came out. She'd listened to the podcast, and even though I've known her like a year, she didn't connect that was me.
Oh, really? How'd she figure it out?
I don't know. I guess probably she listened to an episode and heard the name. I don't know, but because also Elizabeth and Liz, people think of me as Liz, not Elizabeth.
Yes, this is one of the strange things. Is really only our parents and I call you Elizabeth. Everybody else calls you Liz. And what's interesting is even in the podcast world, where everybody hears me talking about Elizabeth, and like I'll say, "Hey, Elizabeth, does this time work for you?" Everybody else calls you Liz. Like everybody knows that that's your real public name. And it's funny to me how everybody figures that out. Maybe it's because it's your email. I think you said
Lynn, also it's my Instagram is @LizCraft.
Right. Oh, that's true. That's true. So someone says we pick up books every other day at our library. I love it. Such a treat. Wow. Our library's been open for a month. Wow. Our library has struggled with the first couple of days of curbside. Yeah, it seems like it would be really logistically difficult for them. I mean, even just to run around and get like people's requested books, you'd need like a lot of runners or something, I guess. Someone says you do seem like a Liz. I think you do seem like a Liz. So I am very excited because tonight we are going to watch the last episode of The Last Dance. But I got so interested. Several people emailed me about the tendencies. So if you don't know what this documentary is, it's a documentary about Michael Jordan and kind of like his career. I know nothing about sports. I knew almost nothing about Michael Jordan except that he's very famous. Yeah. But all these people were like, I think Scottie Pippen is an obliger. What do you think? And like, what do you think Michael Jordan is? And so if you've watched this and you have an idea about what tendency they are, I do think Scottie, but then I'm reading a book right now because I'm so curious, but the book doesn't really make it clear.
I would think that Michael Jordan is an upholder.
I think he is. It's interesting. He's either an upholder or a rebel, which is an interesting that he could be one or the other, but I think he's an upholder too. Yes,
he could be a rebel. That's true.
Yeah. Oh, someone says Jordan upholder. Yes, but I do think he's an upholder. One of the reasons I think he's an upholder, and this doesn't reflect well on us upholders, is that it's very upholder to constantly ask, like, why can't other people just do their job? Like, what's going on here? And that's such a refrain with Jordan. And he does seem to have just limitless, like, pleasure in discipline. He seems to just get so into it. But if you don't know what we're talking about, the phone goes off. If you don't know what we're talking about, go to quiz.gretchenrubin.com and you can find out if you are an upholder, a questioner, a blighter, or rebel. But I read this biography thinking that it might cast like some insight onto his, because the thing is, Michael Jordan was very involved in that documentary, so I don't think that we can assume that it's like the universal perspective on what happened.
Right.
But unfortunately, the biography I got is like a very biography, but basketball-centric biography, whereas I'm like interested in like his thoughts and his kind of his private life and kind of his motivations. This is really like, and then there was a jump ball, and then, you know, like that part I skip. But I am fascinated. If anybody's got any thought, yeah, someone says he's an upholder, mostly for sure. Oh, this is interesting. So maybe people for who really know the world of basketball might, because I'm sure if you've been following his career for decades, it's probably much clearer to you. I just like showed up.
Someone mentioned The Color Purple as a novel to read. That is Alice Walker, such a great novel and a great movie.
And a great movie. I read, you know what, now I'm old enough that there's so many books that I read, but now I have no recollection of them whatsoever.
Yes.
So I'm like, I've got to reread that. Like, I know I have it and I read it. A lot of these books I even, you know, like it's been on the shelf.
Yeah.
So I'm like, but yeah. So I'm very excited to read that. And of course, The Color Purple too. She's got that beautiful line about how you have to notice the color purple. So as someone who's obsessed with purple, that I was thinking a lot about that part of the book. Yeah. Does anybody have any other great suggestions? Oh, somebody says, I look forward to the phone each episode. Do you think you have like a spam caller who calls you every time? Because it is very consistent.
I think it is. It's a lot. Yeah. It's, whatchamacallit? Telemarketer. Yeah.
Yes.
No one calls us on this line except telemarketers.
Yes.
And Sarah calls me on it because my cell phone hasn't been working well.
Right.
Oh, Color Purple. Someone said Toni Morrison. No, isn't it Alice Walker? I thought Color Purple was Alice Walker.
Oh,
Could be wrong. Can someone Google it?
Oh, somebody said Song of Solomon. I just was thinking that I wanted to read it because I think it's an allegory. Oh yeah, Alice Walker. That's what somebody says. Is it an allegory? Because I love allegories. Again, I read Song of Solomon like 1,000 years ago. Yeah, Alice Walker. Yep, Alice Walker. Okay. Yes. This is good. We have like the research assistants out in the world.
Gretchen, on another subject, as people keep going on this, another thing we talked about in the podcast today, or I guess this week, was who do you confide in? And I'm just so curious to hear what people say about that.
Yeah. Oh, right. So if you're just joining, I'm Gretchen Rubin. This is Elizabeth Craft, or Liz Craft. We are the hosts of the Happier with Gretchen Rubin podcast. So the question is, give us a thumbs up if you've ever confided a big secret in someone you don't know well or a stranger, because that's what we talked about, is that this is very common. And somebody emailed me just this morning saying, I always wondered why people were constantly telling me their secrets, because I would never do that. So I'm a person who confides in the people I'm close to. And so I was always sort of surprised. So she must have like a very friendly, open face. And so she's the person that people are going to. Isn't that interesting? Oh, lots of thumbs up. Interesting. Lots of thumbs up.
Yeah, and someone said they saw their new colleague about a pregnancy, which I get, because that's not going to spread around your whole group if you don't want everyone to know about it until the first trimester is done, but you're dying to talk about it. It's sort of safe to tell somebody who's outside of your immediate circle. Right.
Well, and someone says a therapist, and that's interesting. I hadn't thought about a therapist as being kind of like a combination, because they're somebody who knows you well, but they're also somebody who's not connected to your social group. And
they have to keep your secrets.
They have to keep your secrets, and they're very careful to kind of maintain any kind of boundary. And so, so that's probably why, partly why that's such an effective thing, is that it gives somebody safe, but then also somebody who kind of knows the backstory, because sometimes you're like, how can I tell you what it means that my, XYZ thing happened? It's like, okay, it's like, I got to tell you 10 years of history for you to understand like why this is a really big deal.
Yeah.
Someone says, I confide in people who are not close to my daily inner circle. Yeah. Well, this is interesting. Speaking of your daily inner circle, somebody was saying to me, just observing that when we first went into Safer at Home, she said she was connecting with people who were physically close to her in that they were in the neighborhood, even though she wasn't seeing them. She could be just as easily Zooming with people in England. And yet she said she felt this impulse to connect with people who live closer to her. And I thought that was interesting, that I bet there is some kind of primeval feeling that we have about neighbors and not neighbors, where it's like sometimes you want your neighbors, but then maybe sometimes you don't want your neighbors and you want to go out, you want to go further out.
Oh, someone is also asking, what should we be streaming right now?
Great question.
I just watched a show called Afterlife, written by and starring Ricky Gervais, which is a wonderful show. It's 2 seasons, 6 episodes each, and he is a widower, kind of struggling to, deal with his wife's death, and it is a great, uplifting show. It's not, it has nothing to do with anything sort of going on in the world right now politically, but for that reason, it's kind of a nice break, if your brain needs a break.
Well, and that's kind of funny because Ricky Gervais is the guy who created The Office, and the British Office is so kind of dark and sardonic. Maybe his time in the United States has made him a little bit more of a softie.
Softer, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a real sweetness to it, although there's also, of course, a bite as well, because it is Ricky Gervais.
Yes, yeah, but
Afterlife.
Yeah.
Someone said, "What's it called?" Afterlife.
Yeah. So what else are people watching or excited about? Someone said My Brilliant Friend on HBO. So wonderful. See here. Oh, and someone says Upload as well. Is Upload the one that's the Afterlife show? I think we watched the first 2 episodes of that. I love an Afterlife show, and there's been like a whole bunch of them. I just love that premise always.
Which is funny because I am not interested in that premise.
Really?
Or someone says Fleabag. I finally watched the 2nd season of Fleabag, and yes, now I get it. It was just as good as everybody said it was. So thank you everyone for telling me to watch the 2nd season of Fleabag.
Now, see, I'm very bitter because my family watched Fleabag. I got to sleep earlier than other people in my family, and they all watched it without me. And now it's like I'm not good at watching TV by myself for some reason, and I'm like, I want to watch it, but they've already seen it, so it's very.
Someone said Insecure. That's starring Issa Rae, who also wrote a great memoir, I would call it, or autobiography. I think it was a memoir, which is another great book to read.
Yes.
Issa Rae's book. I think it's called Awkward, maybe. The book.
Isn't it Memoirs of an Awkward Black Girl?
Yeah, that sounds, yeah.
I was looking for that because I own that, and it is somewhere lost in the depths of my apartment, and that is the most irritating feeling. I know that I own it, and I know exactly where it was, and I went to it, and it's not there, and I'm just...
maybe Eleanor took it. I
maybe.
Could see a teen wanting to read
yeah,
it.
maybe I should check her room. That's great. Someone says A Secret Love on Netflix documentary. Oh yeah, who's been watching some good documentaries? Has there been any good documentaries? Because that's I think a lot of people love. Someone says, is My Brilliant Friend inspired by the novel? Yes, I think it is inspired by the novel. And apparently Elena Ferrante has a book coming out next year, which I did not know.
Someone wants to know if you redid your scrapbooks. Was that one of your intentions?
Redoing my scrapbooks? I don't think so. If I said so, I haven't done it. Oh, maybe I was getting up to date on my photo albums. I was up to date, but now I realize I'm now 6 months out of date, and I just was looking at that yesterday, and I want to get up to date.
Oh, someone's mentioning the Bruce Lee ESPN documentary, which that's a plan we have, Gretchen, as a family, to watch that because Jack loves Bruce Lee.
Mm.
And he had like he had to, be a famous American for school, and that's who he was, Bruce Lee. So.
Oh, okay. That's great.
And it's
Yeah.
a new documentary that's just coming out.
Oh, well, and he loves documentaries, Jack. Oh, somebody's reminding me it's the scrapbook of the years that I did with ELISA and Eleanor for the Boston
yes.
Inside the Apartment. Yes, we redid those. We got the notebooks and we went through, and it was a tremendous hassle. And I really was like, it was so annoying because I'm like, the minute we do this, we're going to find the other ones, but they never have turned up. So it is kind of a load off my mind that we did recreate those. So that we did do. What do we call those? I think we call them the timeline. Timeline.
Gretch, here's an issue I have that I'm curious if others have. Okay, now that, things are opening up a bit, whether they should or shouldn't, who knows, but whatever the case, it's the doctors and things are now opening up. You can go to the dentist, you could go to the doctor. I have all these things I need to do, like take Jack to the dentist. I need to go to the dentist. I need to get a mammogram. It's things that you have to do in person. You cannot do it on the phone. And I am just finding it impossible to make these appointments.
Yes.
Like before, it was like, well, I don't have to do that because we can't go to the dentist right now unless it's an emergency. But now that I need to do it, I'm just like, it's just zero ability to do it. I
haven't even thought about it.
Well,
we only went into phase 1 on Monday, so I feel like I still kind of have a pass. But yeah, okay, so yeah, and if you're just joining, I'm Gretchen Rubin. This is Elizabeth Kraft. We're the hosts of the Happier with Gretchen Rubin podcast. Give us a thumbs up if you find that you are not moving as expeditiously towards those necessary appointments as you think you might. Somebody said that they got it. They did a dentist appointment. That's great. Someone says I'm still nervous as well. Is it that you're nervous or that you just somehow like can't get organized to like deal with it?
No, I'm nervous about many things, but this is not, it's not nerves that is keeping me from doing this. Nerves are what keeps me from even thinking about going to a restaurant or something like that. Because I do think I can go to the dentist safely. My dentist has all sorts of protocols, etc. But I just don't want to. Not that I ever want to go to the dentist, but it's like the idea of making an appointment feels bizarre.
Okay, so and here's the thing about me. I thought that I would be like so eager for like social things, but I'm actually feeling like more and more reluctant. They just seem like so much trouble. And I'm just like, I don't know. It's like, I'm kind of relieved that we're still not there. Maybe sort of like a certain kind of energy, you step off the treadmill and then it's work to get back onto the treadmill, even though once you're on the treadmill and you're going, it's not a big deal. It's just like hard to get on and get off.
Yeah.
Because I'm feeling the same way about stuff. But I am totally in denial because I'm like, well, I can't do this. It's going to be, what's it going to be like?
You mean
to get those appointments?
Well, I've heard that, you can't wear a mask, obviously, but they're kind of triple masked up and it's only one person in the waiting room at a time. Some places even you wait in your car and they text you when to come in. And you can't have like a bunch of people waiting, in the lobby. So I do think there's a lot of safe ways to do these things.
I feel like where people are paying a lot of attention and everybody's very focused on it, you can be safe. It's the times when you're like not thinking about it or you're distracted or like time goes by and you're not focused on it. And then you get careless just because our instinctual way of relating to each other takes over. So I feel like the dentist, they're going to be like so on it every single minute.
Yes,
I'm like, I don't need to worry about it because they're going to be very, very scrupulous. They're not going to be like, here's a magazine that 15 people have been breathing on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's more like these other things where I'm like, oh, would I trust myself to like meet a bunch of friends in the park and like have a picnic and stay 6 feet apart? It's
very hard. We had we got together outside for Adam's dad's birthday.
Oh right, yeah.
And it was wonderful to see everybody. It was the first time we'd seen his parents briefly once before, but you don't you really don't, even outside, you don't maintain 6 feet. Although now I'm hearing 3 feet might be enough. But again, I noticed afterward that as much as everyone has the intention to do it by the letter, it's just when you're with people you know and love and feel so comfortable with, you forget. Like even when we were leaving, my mother-in-law like started hugging me, and then she's like, "Oh, I'm not supposed to hug you." Like you forget.
Yeah. I think it's just the instinct to be close to people, especially the people who you truly are closest to, or to see them as a threat. It's just like it goes against our nature in such a profound way. Okay, well, everyone, again, the book is Broken Places in Outer Spaces. We'll be talking about it on June 22nd. We'll be back on Tuesday, which I don't know what that date is. Every day is blurring. So everyone have a wonderful weekend, and let's all keep our hands clean and our minds clear. Bye.
Bye.